Hello, good morning everyone. My name's Heward. I'm a designing out crime officer in the Metropolitan Police. And graffiti, street art, whatever you want to call it, and the issues that go around it are often more linked, I'd say, around the crime and the general crime issues in our field. Unfortunately, the Metropolitan Police is not an area that we look into in any depth at all. There's not an individual department. There's not an individual unit. Our unit is designing out crime officers. We've got 32 officers that cover the whole of London, and that's for any new regeneration build in London. And some of the projects that I've worked on, and with my good colleague a few years ago, recently up to last year, is the Olympic Park project. You know, designing venues, athletes' village, which is now housing for over 2,800 residential units and other new housing developments coming onto the park. But one area that's always concerned me, and especially around that area, which was an Olympic park and an Olympic site surrounded by 15 kilometres of fencing, is that the fence comes down next year and there's access to that area from anyone within the public realm, the local neighbouring boroughs, Waltham Forest, Tower Hamlets, Hackney and Heward. And if you go into places like Tower Hamlets and some of the peripherals around there, you will see a lot of street art or tagging work, Hackney Week, etc. However, one thing we've looked at, and one thing I've looked at, especially with Ike, is some of the layout and design of those areas on that new development and the opportunity for taking out those blank canvas walls for putting the graffiti onto and up and around. However, part of what I've been working with and with the legacy company over the last year is looking at areas where we can actually tap into giving the availability for the youngsters, for the youth, to have canvases and canvas areas and working areas to do their design and work. And what Lee was talking about in a controlled way is the way I see things should go forward. An item that I raised about anti-graffiti treatments, we've used on places like schools and academies. We don't want offensive language, and that's the area where the police will really look at, where there's offensive language, whether it's racist or whatever. We will look at dealing with that as a crime within itself. But I agree with what I was saying, is affecting these treatments and these services and what John was talking about, how things go, what is the long-term effect on this. And there's other issues that will crop up, and something that's totally out of the scope is, I've had criminal damage with people now throwing cooking oil on the floor, on York stone, because it damages it. And I've had a bill for, well, the legs company, £100,000 to clean up cooking oil. Now to me, that's as bad, or the equivalent of what some people see as a graffiti artist within the room. So a lot of my specialist field is looking at design and design out crime. However, I just want to briefly introduce, for just 2 minutes, Kevin Hull, who I work with, because Kevin has looked at the waterways and the canals, especially around the Olympic Park. What we've done on the park and around the Olympic area is very much new stuff, but I don't know if you just want to briefly mention a couple of bits, what you've looked at, as far as to the other crimes that go along with it. I think it's worth it.
Well, Kevin Hook, again, designer crime officer for the Met. Previously been a crime prevention officer, and I was tasked during early part of last year. The canals around Victoria Park were a hot spot for crime, antisocial behaviour and burglary on canal boats. And I was tasked to do a survey on the park and the canal paths. And one thing that stuck out when I went down the canal paths, having worked on Tower Hamlets for 10 years, and not actually gone down there other than to do the odd report, having walked along all the canal paths, there's not a blank wall anywhere at all. Now, be that on the riverside or on the bank side, there's just not a blank wall. Graffiti is absolutely everywhere, and I say graffiti because generally it is graffiti. Now again, who do you try and approach to deal with that? my role was to try and work out a way of preventing crime, reassuring the residents of the canal boats, the canal path users. You get walkers, you get joggers, you get cyclists, you get dog walkers, you get commuters going to and from work, all sorts of people day and night. I had to try and deal with the Canal and River Trust. Now, for want of a better word, didn't get much response. So we'll leave that there. But with regard to graffiti, the option would be, and the suggestion was put to them, why not try and deal with local schools? Why not try and deal with local street artists? To change the graffiti into murals that reflect what people are trying to do, which is get visitors via the boats, give them a nice area to come through. Because at the minute, the canal paths, whilst they are slightly improving, are dangerous. Robberies go on down there, assaults go on down there, burglary goes on down there.
Hacking people find roads.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, there are boaters down there that are trying to take this forward. As I said, we as an organisation have done away with crime prevention, with restructuring. And so it really does fall down to the residents who live on boats to try and take this matter forward. And to be honest, no one's really listening, which is a frustration for them, I know. But with regard to graffiti, that is something that if someone can find a way of dealing with it, or at least trying to address certain aspects of it, it gives the opportunity to try and start to regenerate the areas that are down there. I mean, unfortunately, due to work scenarios, we've not had a chance to put a presentation together, but there is a spot, a big wall, probably the size of that whiteboard there, at the end of where I got down to, which is a nice big wall. It was obviously white at some point because you can see some graffiti under it, and there's a big face of a boy crying, and in the air bubbled around his mouth it says, "I bet the person who owns this wall is crying." And clearly they've gone over the top of graffiti with a white paint, and it's then been done again with this mural, and it pretty much epitomises the entire canal path in that area, because it doesn't feel safe, it doesn't feel nice to go down there. And yet in real terms, we should be trying to clear the canals, encourage people to use the boats, to be a much more user-friendly environment for everyone. And simply walking down there is nothing more than an eyesore. And again, whilst there are some bits of the work that could be seen as being quite nice, generally speaking, even that is then tagged. So, I mean, my question to yourself with your project is, again, with our role of dealing with architects, planners, etc., councils with new schemes, tower blocks, housing estates, whatever, one of the areas we try and get them out of is blank walls, blank canvases. So maybe something could be done whereby you actually approach contractors, builders, planners to say, you know, if you're putting a site up, can we try and alleviate this problem by doing some sort of a mural? It won't cost you anything. Our guys will do it. The obvious stumbling block there is going to be what you say, that the artists want to do their own thing. But it's better than getting tags, brickwork messed up and everything else. It's just an opportunity, it's food for thought more than anything else, because at the end of the day it's something we talk about every meeting we go to with architects and planners.
Can I just pick up on something you said? So what you said is that as crime prevention is there,
Yeah.
you know, some of the 10,000 natural wastes of jobs that have gone have been targeted for crime prevention, and there's very few left.
The state tourists, of course. And we're not
What we've actually done is it's more of a specialised role now, which effectively the crime prevention side of it, which was the basic crime prevention, has actually effectively gone. It's now put back to the neighbourhood policing teams, which are the old safer neighbourhood teams, which don't actually have any training in it at all. It's your basic crime prevention.
Okay,
Whereas we're trained up on crime prevention, then crime
so I
prevention
think
is
it's a
online.
really important change and that people should know that. I also think that what you're saying about the waterways, okay, so the marine police, they look up the floaters, suicides.
The Marine Police have actually been involved in trying to do this as well with the Canal and River Trust, but again,
They don't have the funds or the...
now as far as I know, there's only one person involved in it.
Right, one marine police, right. So the British waterways, where all the walls are, they're a trust and they don't have any money to keep it.
Right. We're going to carry on this.
All right, but I just think
Yeah.
that the point to understand...
All I can say is that the River and Canal Trust, that they did when it was British Waterways, they did a book with the police under lock and key, as in QUAY. That's a book that's how they should maintain it, how the police should monitor it, and everything else. I raised all that in my report to Canal River Trust.
Still available online.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
online,
I know.
yeah.
Yeah, and again, I've got nothing back with regard to the report. And it was linked in with a report on the park as well, so it's all linked in. However, the police, as in the marine police, generally speaking, it's also on the water. That's their remit. The River and Canal Trust basically says the footpath is ours, and the bridges.
It's ownership.
But again, it is, if we can find a big enough carpet, we'll sweep it under and we'll let someone else deal with it. And that's the
So
that's
who
the
would they
brick wall.
talk to about the walls?
Well, again, you probably have to argue the fact that you'd have to speak to the local councils in the area to see who actually owns the walls, but you'll probably get blamed.
Yeah.
This is the problem
You
got.
will, because we say British Waterways own
Yeah,
the walls, they say we own
and
the
they'll
walls.
say, no, it's more than a metre from the edge of the wall,
Yeah.
so that's not ours. So again, it's where do you start? But if you could do something with it, it would be a big boost to promote yourselves, as long as the work is right. And again, it all comes down to interpretation, I understand that. Yeah, I don't like graffiti, but in the right context, it's an opportunity because you can use it to improve a big area, which, again, you know, Mr. Johnson with his lovely cycles, Forest bikes, wonderful, but the canal probably attracts as many people, and yet, to be honest, it's a disgrace.
Yeah.
And that comes down to footpaths as well. So it's, anyway.